When we get asked, like, how do you guys write or how do you do these things, it still feels like we're putting that process together. Like, it doesn't really feel like a sure thing.
Maybe it's a forever thing, yeah.
I kind of hope it does.
Yeah.
It doesn't stay the same. It's kind of exciting. The writing process started when we were first locked down and touring came to an end, and so it was like sort of sense of like we weren't musicians anymore, we weren't a band, because we couldn't do the things that we normally did. So writing sort of was the only opportunity, like creating was the thing that made it feel like I was being productive. And I think also at the same time there was a lot of anxiety around like generally what am I doing with my life, and I think a lot of people had that experience, and I think it just sort of exacerbated like years of that experience and that mentality, and sort of got me thinking about that as a more general experience that people have. Hardlight started on acoustic guitar and an idea for a melody that went with that. And sort of for me, when I'm like sort of writing the real like bones of a song, it's usually like phonetic stuff that like sounds good, just vowels and things like that. And then I sort of relate that maybe to an idea that I have or a phrase that I have, sort of like metaphor or the analogy of being on set and forgetting your lines, which I think was like my way of retelling that one of like being that dream of being at school with no pants on, you know, that thing where you're like super embarrassed and caught unawares. And I think it's just talking more about feeling aimless and like very much like I have no idea what's going on, which is something that I've felt a lot of over time, and sometimes now still. The chorus took ages to write. I remember I was sitting in the car and I wrote it outside of the studio because you were like tracking drums and people were in the different rooms and it was 40 degrees or something, really hot in Perth. I just had the aircon blasting.
Just seat back guitar on you,
yeah,
like that.
Wandering songstress.
Chewing on a piece of straw.
Yeah, and had my eureka moment. That was a song that was kind of written around, I guess, like a relationship breakup and like pre and post that, and also like COVID times. Musically, it was really fun to write. It took us ages.
I think all of our favourite parts of that song, and maybe the reason why it stands out so much to us, is how sort of euphoric that outro is. And I mean, that's obviously by design. We got together in the studio and just picked up a bunch of random percussion instruments, and I think we just layered so much on top of itself for that to just be this really big explosion of sound after what's a fairly, I guess, withdrawn moment in the track. And yeah, it's that sense of catharsis, I think, comes through lyrically, I think, from what you're speaking on, and then also musically we've deliberately put this like thing, this release, and I mean, you know, it's a bit more substantial than I think we realized when we were doing it. And then we sat down and heard it for the first time. I was like, hey, this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, that song is just, the range is, I don't know why I always write songs at the very top of my range, and that's there for me. And then there's like, I've got to drop a pick and do a finger picking part, and then pick a pick back up, pick a pick from my pick holder, and
so
get back into it.
Times.
Yeah, it's just like, it's so much to think about. It's one of those things where like eventually they all become fine. It's just like the first 30 times you play it.
We've got like 14 days of rehearsal booked for July. It's
basically
Spacey Jane relearns all of their own music.
Yeah, so many like little ideas that you come up with on the spot in the studio. Yeah, that's great. Track that, and you track it, and then never to be played again for at least 6 months to a year. Obviously, you always want to write a song that is better than the last one, and a record that's better than the last one, and like outperforms. And but I don't think we've tried to be like, oh, let's like regurgitate this thing that we've done and like with Booster Seed. Hopefully.
Yeah, I feel like the pressure comes from knowing there's an audience and knowing that people want to hear something. Before, when we were first releasing music, it was kind of just all fun and games and like, hey, it would be awesome if people listened to us. Now we know that there are people waiting and have, you know, signed up for this, and we don't want to do anything except make them feel like, you know, we're giving it our all, and you know,
please like it.
Yeah, please be proud of us.
We're trying.